morning, everyone. Hi, and welcome to the Deeper Life Movement with another video. Today I have an interesting topic for you. It's a topic that speaks to me because of the seasons I've been through lately. It is very related to my life and what has happened to the past few years, but also in general to what happens in life when we are called to move away from a situation or a habit or a person or a relationship or whatever, or a job or a career, and we refuse to do it. How many times have we, including myself, in our lives, asked ourselves, should I move on from something? Is this the right time to move on from something? And even when we move on, we keep looking back. But what happens when a situation or a job or a career or a person closes the cycle in your life and fulfills its purpose and role in your life? Then it's time to move on. But a lot of people move on from something and they keep looking back. Today I would like to talk exactly about this problem, because the looking back into the past towards something that is already gone, or towards something that has finished its function in your life, it has finished its purpose in your life, but you still keep looking back and want to go back, and you even go back sometimes, that will cost you. That is the topic of today. What does looking constantly back cost us? What is the price that we pay for constantly looking back? Trying to move forward but looking back. Because the problem with that is you can't do both. When you move on from something to something new, you can't move with your body and keeping your head behind. You can't. That's not how it works. So you either move on completely or you go back. A lot of people live in limbo. A lot of people struggle to make decisions because they keep looking back. Because they think they left something valuable behind, because they can't find closure, because they are waiting for an apology, because something happened and the past came back looking all in glitters to fool them, to drag them back into the past. But what is the price that we pay for constantly looking back? The topic of today is the price you pay for constantly looking back. I will answer this in the end of the video, because it is also a topic that invites us all to reflect about the circumstances in our life, whatever we are going through, difficult times, even joyous times, when we make decisions, when we make choices, based on what? How do we take our decisions? And why is it important that when we take a decision, we stick to it? Why is it important that when we move on from something, we are sure that we need to move on? How do we know when we have to move on? How do we know it's the right time to move on? Are there specific signs there? Is there something that tells us that we are ready to move on? Right? These all are sides of the same topic that I will share with you in this video. But before I get into the topic, a few notes. First, if you hear a piano playing, that's because my talented neighbor is playing her piano. So I hope it doesn't distract you. Also, as usual, the videos under this channel are meant to reach the people that are ready to receive the messages. If you end up listening to this video and you get nothing out of it, not a message that applies to your life, not an application rule, not a feeling, not an irritation of your spirit, not a nudge to do something, to reflect about something, not an emotional reaction that makes you think about your choices. If you get no reaction or emotion whatsoever from these videos that I do, that means you are not ready for the lessons that are hidden in these messages. As usually, the deeper life is about going deeper. It's about our deeper life, the life that we have buried inside of us, and sometimes we struggle to get it out and look at it right in front of our eyes and let it go. And those are the things that I deal with in my videos. But these messages are not for everybody. The messages, I don't do hashtags on my videos on purpose. I don't do marketing and PR on my videos and my channel on purpose. The Deeper Life movement is a little gem that it is hidden somewhere in the big web there with millions of videos that when it comes across your channel, there's something there for you that God wants you to hear. Maybe you are going through something in your life, and maybe you will see something in this video or hear from a different perspective that will give you just enough material to reconsider your life, to reconsider your situation, to see it from a different point of view, right? Thirdly, as usually, I've said this before, but just to mention it quickly, the Deeper Life videos are a combination of 3 elements. The Word of God, which is the absolute truth, and its application in the today's societies, modern societies, to show how wicked we have become, to show how far we have gone from our values and everything that's meaningful and valuable to building our societies. The second element is to reveal and to expose the deceit of the human nature, the way we live our life in fakeness, in foolery, in deceit, in manipulation, in lies. That's what we try to expose under this channel. And the third element is my personal story. I have combined these 3 elements on purpose to make this channel as personal as possible, not a lecture, right? Not a statistic. You can read statistics online. Boy, do I have trouble with this word. But it's about expressing throughout my life experiences and combining it with the life lessons from the Word of God to show and prove to you that they're not separate. What we go through in life is all here. It's all here. That's why this is called the Book of Life. It teaches us how to live. It teaches us what value is in life. It teaches us what a deeper life means, that we should live deep and not on superficiality, not based on shallowness, right? And so I gladly implement all these elements to bring life to this channel, right? That's the purpose. But also to make us all aware about things that we don't speak about, or things that we brush over as not important, or things that we ignore, or things that escape our attention, such as the importance of not looking back. For the today's story, I will be in Genesis 19. I will read to you a short piece from Genesis 18, and then the Genesis 19, I will read to you not the whole chapter, but only the relevant parts, as I usually do in these videos, the relevant parts for the message that I have to share with you. But before I get into that, let me start with a personal thing, because I love to implement personal stories from my life in my messages. I believe that's one of the best parts to what I do. Before my mother passed away, she gave me one last advice. Don't look back. Not only she repeatedly gave me that advice, she made me swear and promise that I would keep that promise. She made me promise that I would never look back. After she passed, 3 days later, as the customary law requires in the country where I come from, we went to the resting place. And as I was just about to leave away from her grave, I could hear her voice whisper in my ear, "Remember the promise, don't look back." Now, it took me almost 3 years to understand that she wasn't talking about the country. I thought, because I come from another country and I left my country years ago, I thought she meant don't come back to this country or to the place where you lived years ago. And for years I believed that, until one day I realized she wasn't speaking about the place. The words "don't look back" can mean a lot of things. They could mean a place, they could refer to a situation, they could refer to a situation that has left you broken or in pain. They could mean a job or a career choice. They could mean habit. They could mean the people you are associating with, your circle. Yeah. So it took me a while to realize she wasn't talking about the country. She was talking about my life, my lifestyle. Everything that I had left in the past. Traumas, pain, betrayal, situations, circumstances. Don't look back. That was the message. And for that reason, I share this with you because it's so connected to the messages we are going to talk about today. In Genesis 19, God decided to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, which were the most sinful cities on planet Earth. They were wicked to the point where God was so disgusted from humans and what they had done there that he sent angels on earth to destroy these cities. But before he destroyed these cities, he sent these 2 angels to warn a specific family to save them. That family was Lot's family. Lot was a dedicated man. He was a wealthy man. He was a career man in the today's terms, right? And he had a lot of reputation. He worked for high institutions in the city. And he had a lot of status. Yeah. He was rich, he was wealthy. He had a wife, he had 2 daughters. And basically he had everything. He had built a comfortable life for himself, right? So God sent 2 angels to his family to save him, because he also believed. In the midst of all that sin, Lot and his family were the only ones that God decided to save because of their dedication to God and the way they lived their life. I'm going to read to you the complete paragraph because this message today is about not as much about Lot as it is about Lot's wife. Because when God told them to leave and not look back, Lot's wife was the only one who disobeyed the order from God, his commandment, and she looked back. And as a result, she became a pillar of salt. Now, for many of you, this might sound like a fairy story, you know, something you teach your children. Actually, if you go and you do some research, you will find out that there are some archaeological findings in the place where this is thought to have taken place, this story. There are archaeological proof of the ground and of the consistency of the remains there, that once upon a time there was a big fire, exactly like the Bible describes it, that the city were destroyed. Remains of a big fire, as a result of which some salt ingredients are left. This is, of course, thousands of years ago, so you could imagine that there's not much left behind to prove anything. But there is proof for this. So, don't believe everything I say. Go and do your research to understand what happened. So, I'm going to read to you the entire paragraph here, and then we can get into it in the lessons that this story of Lot and his family, but most importantly as to why his wife decided to look back and what happened and why she had the fate that she had because of the fact that she looked back. So Genesis 19, I am in the Life Application Bible. If you have that Bible, open up to page 36. That's Genesis 19, under title Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. Sodom and Gomorrah were two cities. Lot and his family lived in Sodom. So this takes place in Sodom specifically. We start with chapter 19, verse 1. That evening, the two angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. So God sends two angels to Sodom to warn Lot and his family to leave the city. Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up to meet them. Now, first of all, Lot was sitting at the entrance of the city. People who sat and who waited at the entrance of the city were people who worked for the administration, for the king, people with status, people with jobs, high hierarchy jobs, right? So that is what tells us that Lot had a high status in the society. So Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up and he met them. Then he welcomed them and bowed with his face to the ground. That is how they greeted people back then, right? My lords, he said. He probably recognized what they were. They were in the form of people, not in the form of angels with wings, as you might think. Sometimes angels are disguised in human bodies. That's how God sends them in our life, right? So he probably saw who they were, because Lot was a believer. My lords, he said, come to my home to wash your feet and be my guests for the night. You may then get up early in the morning and be on your way again. So he invites them home in his house. Oh no, they replied. We will just spend the night out here in the city square. But Lot insisted. So at last they went home with him. Lot prepared a feast for them, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate. But before they retired for the night, all the men of Sodom, young and old, came from all over the city and surrounded the house. Now this scene right here describes how wicked, how immoral, and how deeply in sin were the people of Sodom and why God was destroying this city. So what happened here? So they surrounded the house, old people, young people, all of them. And they shouted to Lot, where are those men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them. That city was so wicked, they didn't care who they were going to rape. Basically what they're saying here is, we want to rape your guests. Get them out of the house. Yeah, they didn't care. They were men, they were women, they were children, they were old, they were young. They didn't care. That's how deep the wickedness was in that city. I wonder why this sounds like deja vu. Because that's where we live nowadays. This description here, this is exactly the description of the world we are living today. We are living in these modern times in the midst of Sodom and Gomorrah. In the midst of wickedness. That's where we are living, all of us. So Lot stepped outside to talk to them, shutting the door behind him. "Please, my brothers," he begged, "don't do such a wicked thing. Look, I have 2 virgin daughters. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them as you wish. But please, leave these men alone, for they are my guests and are under my protection." So Lot was about to give his 2 virgin daughters to this wicked man to please them, just so they wouldn't touch the guests. He was ready to sacrifice his daughters in order to keep his guests safe, right? Stand back. These people, they insisted, right? They were there for something and they wanted it right there and right then, which also reminds us of the way that we are living today. Have you seen how lustful people are today? Which is completely disgusting. Have you seen how lustful men have become? How lustful women have become? How old-fashioned it has become to cover yourself, first of all. But how many families are destroyed because of lust? Because men and women cannot control their instincts, their animalistic instincts, because that's what they are. That's where we live in. The level of immorality and dirtiness and sin. Right? "Stand back," they shouted. "This fellow came to town as an outsider, and now he's acting like our judge. We'll treat you far worse than those other men." And they lunged towards Lot to break down the door. So basically they pushed him aside and they just wanted to enter his house and to grab this man and basically rape them. But the 2 angels, they reached out, they pulled Lot into the house and bolted the door. Then they blinded all the men, young and old, who were at the door of the house, so they gave up trying to get inside. This gives us a perspective as to why God decided to destroy these cities. But if we go back in chapter 18 to connect it to this message, there is something also very interesting. In chapter 18, God, before he sent these angels to Sodom and Gomorrah to destroy the cities, God told Abraham about it. But you see, Lot and his family, they were related to Abraham. Lot grew up under the care of Abraham because Lot did not have a father. So Abraham took him under his wing like his own son. What happened here is, when God told Abraham that he was planning to destroy the cities, Abraham, trying to save his Lot and his family, who he cared about, even though Abraham lived in another city, in another place, but he wanted them to be saved, so he tried to negotiate with God. And what happened is, Abraham tried to make a compromise with God to not destroy everybody in the city. So there is an interesting scene that I want to read to you quickly, just for you to understand the message, which is very profound. Abraham approached God and said, "Will you sweep away both the righteous and the wicked?" So you are going to destroy 2 cities, God, but what? Are you going to destroy the good people as well? Right? Because Abraham was convinced that, yeah, every city has good and bad people. He wasn't even thinking that that city had no good people left. There was none left. So he tries to tell God, suppose you find 50 righteous people living there in the city amidst the wicked, right? Will you then sweep it away and not spare it for their sakes? Surely you wouldn't do such a thing, destroying the righteous along the wicked. Why? You would be treating the righteous and the wicked exactly the same. Which is a valid question, right? Because when you think that we live in a world that has both, it contains both wickedness and goodness, when God comes to destroy something, you logically think, well, but wait a minute, don't you think you should save the good people? Don't you think the people who are righteous should live? Right? They don't deserve to die because somebody else has been wicked. That's how Abraham thought. So he's asking God, let's say you have 50 righteous people in this city. Can you spare the city, God? Please spare it. Don't destroy it. So he says, why? You would be treating the righteous and the wicked exactly the same. They don't deserve to be treated the same, right? That's how we think nowadays too, when something happens. Surely you wouldn't do that. Should not the judge of all the earth do what is right? And the Lord replied to him, and he said, if I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I will spare the entire city for their sake. But you see, Abraham knew that there were not 50 people that were good in that city. When God decided to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he knew there were none of them. Zero good people. But he continues to negotiate. Abraham spoke again. So he said, let me further speak to my Lord, even though I am but dust and ashes. Suppose there are only 45 righteous people. So Abraham goes lower with the cipher because he realizes why God is telling him, okay, you want to negotiate? Good. If you can find me 50 righteous people and good people, then I'll spare the city. But I'm afraid there are no 50. So Abraham thinks if I lower the number, then he will probably find 45 people. And he says, what if there are 45 people in the city rather than 50? Will you destroy the whole city for the lack of 5? And the Lord said again, I will not destroy it if I find 45 righteous people there. Then Abraham pressed the question further. He realized, there are not 45. I have to go down, lower. Suppose there are only 40. And the Lord replied, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 40. And he goes on. So, please don't be angry, my Lord, Abraham pleaded. Let me speak. Suppose there are only 30 righteous people in the city. And the Lord replied again, I will not destroy it if I find them. Yeah, if there are 30 righteous people in the city, I won't destroy it. I will let the city be. Then Abraham said, since I have dared to speak to the Lord, let me continue. Suppose there are only 20. He keeps lowering his number because he realizes how bad the situation is. And the Lord replied, then I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20. Finally, Abraham said, Lord, please don't be angry with me if I speak one more time. Suppose there are only 10 people found that are righteous. And the Lord replied, then I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. Then the Lord had finished the conversation with Abraham. He went on his way, and Abraham returned to his tent. 10 people, 10. He couldn't find 10 people that deserved to live. Yeah. The fact that the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah ended up being destroyed tells us that there were no 10 people. God saved Lot, Abraham, Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters. His 2 daughters, so that is Lot, Abraham, wife, 2 daughters. That's 5 people. Yeah. Lot's 2 daughters had a fiancé. They were engaged, so they both had from one man. That makes 7 people. 7 people, that is one family God decided to save. But because there were not even 10 people, that city was not worthy of being left behind. This scene is just to tell you how wicked Sodom and Gomorrah were and how bad the situation were there. So let me continue to the next message of the chapter. So what happened after these 2 angels? Okay, so they closed the door, they blinded the people outside of the door, Lot's house, basically everybody was safe. Yeah. The 2 angels, they reached out, they put Lot into the house, they pulled him into the house, and they saved him. Okay, so now we come to the second part of the message. Meanwhile, still inside the house, the angels questioned Lot. Do you have any other relatives here in the city? They asked. Get them out of this place, your sons-in-law, your sons, daughters, or anyone else, for we are about to destroy this city completely. The outcry against the place is so great it has reached the Lord, and he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot rushed out to tell his daughter's fiancés, right, the men, "Quick, get out of the city, the Lord is about to destroy it." He believed the angels. Lot believed what the angels said to him, because he believed in God, that's why. But the young man thought he was joking. They did not believe him. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. "Hurry!" It was now an order. They were telling him to hurry. "Hurry," they said to Lot. "Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here. Get out right now, or you will be swept away in the destruction of this city. So you leave now or you die." 2 options. When Lot still hesitated, the angels seized his hand and the hands of his wife and 2 daughters and rushed them to safety outside the city, for the Lord was merciful. So basically they grabbed Lot and then they just dragged him out of the city. They did not save Lot because they cared as much as God cared for Lot. It was because the order came from God. He wanted Lot to live. So the angels, whether Lot liked it or not, because this hesitancy from Lot shows that he did not want to leave. He did not want to leave. He wanted to stay. So they had to drag him and his wife and his daughters and just drag them out of the city without even asking for his permission anymore, because he had to leave. That was the order. When they were safely out of the city, one of the angels ordered, "Run for your lives and don't look back. And do not stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains or you will be swept away." "Oh no, my lord," Lot begged. "You have been so gracious to me and saved my life, and you have shown such great kindness towards me, but I cannot go to the mountains. Disaster would catch up to me there, and I would soon die. See, there is a small village nearby. Please let me go there instead. Don't you see how small it is? Then my life will be saved." "All right," the angel said. "I will grant your request. I will not destroy this little village, but hurry, escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there." So he had to wait until Lot and his family took place and they got to the destination, to this little village that he wanted to stay, and then he was going to destroy everything. So Lot reached the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Then the Lord rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah. He utterly destroyed them along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. This sentence is where the entire video will be focused on. Lot's wife. Not only Lot's wife, Lot too, because he hesitated to leave. What does, in the big picture, what does the story of Lot and his wife teaches us? In the bigger scale, the first lesson that I learned as I read the whole chapter was, when God tells you to move, move. A lot of people play games with God's commandments. A lot of people are stuck in hesitation, in their stubbornness, like you wouldn't believe. Most of the people know when they are told to move, they know when they have to move away from something. A great example of this is women who stay in abusive relationships. Have you ever asked yourself how many marriages are there? Thousands, if not millions of marriages that are abusive. If not physically, they are mentally abusive and emotionally abusive. But these women They still stay. They refuse to move. They refuse to leave these relationships. Even though they are hurting them, they are breaking them down, they are toxic, they are pained from whatever betrayal is going on in these relationships, cheating, toxicity, drama. They still stay. They justify it though. I'm staying for the kids. I'm staying for the job. I'm staying for the money. I'm staying because I have common assets with my husband or my abusive boyfriend or whatever. But they stay. Even though God is telling them, move. Because that place serves you no more. A lot of people refuse to move. Some of us are stuck. Some people are stuck. Some people don't know how to get unstuck from a situation or a job or a career or whatever. Some people choose comfort and convenience. Some other people are afraid. They fear. Some other people feel insecure about the future. Now, the second lesson is here that the story of Lot teaches us, and his refusal to move and leave everything behind. It teaches us that it is a common human tendency to stay to the things that are familiar to us and comfortable to us. If you would ask people to choose between progress and moving ahead with their life to the next chapter, which is not known to them, it's because we don't know where life brings us. Only God knows the plans for our life. That's why we should trust his plans. When he says move, we should move. But if you would ask people, what do they wish to choose between progress towards the unknown with the price of moving above and progressing ahead in life, or choosing to stay in comfort and what's comfortable and what feels good and familiar and known, and well, you know what to expect there, so no surprises, you know? With the price of staying in the same place for the rest of their lives, they will choose the comfort. It is a common human behavior that we would choose comfort above progress. Why? Because of the fear, insecurity, the insecurities that we have within us. Because of this nature of humans to feel secure in everything that they do, to have all the answers. It is typical human behavior that we want all the answers. We want to know everything. We want to know where we're going to go. We want to know how we're going to get there. We want to know where we're going to get the money. We want to know, have you seen how people react when they start a project? People are terrified to start a project on their own. Well, where am I going to find the people? But what if it works? And what if it doesn't work? But where am I going to find the money for this? I don't have any money. Those are some of the questions I've asked myself too, many years ago. But see, life is not about comfort. Life is seasons. I've made a separate video on seasons of life. Life is seasons. They change. And we need to move. When God tells you to move, He does it for a reason. God does not move you because He's playing games with you and He wants to test you and He wants to see how durable you are and how strong you are. And yes, you have to show these things as you go through the journey of life. But God does not play games. He will not just get you out of the situation and tell you, you know what, get your belongings and move and go wherever you want now because I'm out of here. God guides you. Even though He doesn't tell you where you're going. He doesn't tell you details of the plans. You don't have to know the details. All you have to do is trust that God is on your side. That there's no reason that God should disappoint you. Because why? Because first of all, He knows what He's doing even when you don't know what you're doing. And second of all, because God is on your side. God is for us. He's not against us. If He were to be against us, He would have not created us. Right? It's simple logic. You don't have to be a philosopher and a scientist to find this out. And so if God created us to help us prosper and progress and live a good, abundant life, then why would he move you to danger? Towards danger, towards insecurity, towards the unknown? Of course not. He's there for you. So we cling to what is familiar even when we have to stay there in pain. Even though these women that are in terrible relationships are being abused every day, they still stay there because it's comfortable. So, why was Lot so reluctant to move? Why was he hesitating to leave? Because what happens is, often in life, we build something. He had a good life, right? When the angels showed and told him to move and to hurry, they didn't tell him, take your time to pack and take your belongings and your animals with you and, pack your bags and no problem, think about it. No, it was, he had to move now. He had to move now because of the urgency of what was happening there. But because of what he had built, he had status, he had money, he had comfort. By the way, the school in front of us, the children are out and they're screaming, so bear with me. So he hesitated because he had built a comfortable life. That is what we do nowadays too. We are afraid to move because, well, I worked so hard. I worked so hard to build all of this. Now God is telling me to move to something that I don't know where I'm going. I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? That's just crazy. Right? That's crazy. But the question that most of people don't ask themselves is, first of all, what if I have the whole accumulation of the world, but I am nothing inside? What if I'm dead inside? God is not impressed with your money. God does not care how many houses you have. God does not look at your CV and your career achievements. Yes, those things are good for you because they please your ego and they help you to boost your pride in life and feel better about yourself and have more money, make more money, whatever your goal is in life. But God is not impressed by those things. God is impressed by spiritual growth. To grow as a human being, to grow in your values and your virtues, to become a man of integrity, a woman of God, a man of God. He is interested in your heart. He is interested in who you become spiritually. So you can have all the accumulations in the earth, like Lot's case. He was rich, he was powerful, he had status, he had a great job, he had connections, whatever, career. But he was not growing spiritually because you cannot grow spiritually in the midst of sin. God was removing him to another place to grow, to flourish from within, to live a meaningful life, to fulfill the purpose of his life, first of all, because you cannot fulfill, no matter how spiritual you are, if you live in a environment like Sodom and Gomorrah, where the sin was at its highest, you cannot flourish spiritually there because people all they thought about was sex. All they thought about was pleasure. So you cannot grow spiritually there because spiritual growth does not go with lust. They have nothing in common. They are completely different things. You grow spiritually by feeding with spiritual food. That's not lust. It's not money. It's not materialism. It's not vanity. That's not what it is. And so, in order for Lot to grow, he had to change environment, didn't he? That is why God was moving him, giving him the chance, first of all, to leave everything behind. To leave his possessions behind, to leave his house behind, to leave his animals behind, to leave his friends behind, to leave his career behind, his colleagues, his bosses, whatever. Right? Because they meant nothing. When you are dead inside and you feel empty from within, nothing matters. Nothing will please you. That is why I made that separate video from the wise King Solomon that says, a life of vanity is a life of nothingness. Vanity will never satisfy you. You don't find satisfaction of your soul in the pleasures of the body. You have to feed your soul. And we feed our soul through meaning. Through meaning. Right? So, Lot hesitated because of what he was leaving behind. But what he was leaving behind was not valuable in God's eyes. That is the same reason that we refuse to move on too, as people nowadays too, right? We look back at the accumulations and we are like, oh my God, but I stressed so hard for this career. What do you mean I have to leave behind my whole career and move on? That's what happened to me years ago. I was working in the corporate world. I had a stable job. I did not have the best job in the world, but I had a stable job, an office job, comfortable. And then God decided to move me. He was like, nope, you don't belong here. Let's go. Let's go start for yourself. Let's go with entrepreneurship. And I was like, whoa, where are you bringing me, God? Where are you bringing me? What do you mean I have to leave my salary behind? I need the money. I need to leave. But see, that's where faith comes in. If you don't trust God and where He's bringing you, you'll never move from your comfort place. You'll never move from your comfort place because nobody has the answers for you. Nobody is going to show up in your life to tell you you have to move, and when you get there, you're going to have this, 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 and this. You're going to have the money, you're going to have the security, you're going to have everything. That doesn't happen in our life. So you have to move based on faith. So let's stop a little bit in the main 3 commands here from the angels. I'll have some coffee. What were the 3 main core commandments that these angels gave to Lot and his family? The first commandment was, flee for your lives. Yeah, the key words are flee and lives. When your life is at stake, you have to flee, you have to run. These angels were not telling Lot, take your time, sleep on it and think about it. It's just an option. If you want to leave, you can leave. If you want to stay, you can stay. No, they said flee. It was an order. It was an order to move. Move. But most importantly is the reason why they were telling him to flee and what he was fleeing from. Lot was not fleeing from a great place where he was so happy with his life and, everybody was happy and life was perfect. He was fleeing from sin. He was fleeing, he was running away from sin and destruction. Even if God did not had never destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, they would have destroyed themselves. That's where we are headed in the modern societies. This time God is not destroying our cities with fire and sulfur from the sky. He's letting us destroy each other. Because that's what we are doing right now. Yeah? We are destroying each other. That's our fate as humans. Because we refuse to listen and we refuse to obey. So, flee for your lives. What does that mean? The sense of urge, which is important. That shows the importance of moving. The importance of moving on. The second element is because his life was at stake. His life was at stake. This was not a situation where you could go slow and think about it. He had to move fast because otherwise he would die. And to leave everything behind. Now this was the hard part. Because as I said, we are so attached to belongings and to situations and to partners and to jobs and to situationships and relationships and marriages, wherever we are, that we can't move on. The second command here, which is very important, was don't look back. It was very clear. Don't look back. He did not tell him, you should hurry, but you can stop on the way for a coffee, get a Starbucks, and if you meet your cousin on the way, have a conversation with him. and you know, just take a look what's happening behind you, and ask people if the city is burning while you are running. No, he said, don't look back. His entire life depended on that one thing. And the command here is to trust God about what he says to you. If Lot had looked back, he would have died. His wife looked back and she died. It cost her her life. The third commandment is, don't stop anywhere in the whole valley. Don't stop. When God tells you to move, there's no stop needing. There is no between stops needed. He wants you to keep going until you reach the destination, until you go to the place where he says, okay, here you're going to stop. Keep moving. Isn't that what happens in our careers nowadays? A lot of people get into a career and then they stop, or they look back. They get comfortable with the position. Even though they are ambitious to grow and go up and up and up in the hierarchy and in the positions, they get stuck. Or they keep looking back. Yeah, maybe I left that job 10 years ago. Maybe I should go back there. Yeah. They start doubting, they start fearing, the insecurity kicks in. But also the circumstances. Because sometimes things happen in our life that make us feel insecure about where we are going. So we tend to get frozen in that moment, in that very part of our life. And we stay there. And because we think we are staying there for a season, we think that's where we belong. So we settle for forever. I know people that have started their career in a job and they got to pension in that same position. It's not because of lack of ambition. Everybody's ambitious. It's not because of these people are not intelligent enough to grow. That's not it. Or because they lack skills to grow like everybody else. It's not it. Sometimes we get stuck in one place because the circumstances look as if they are against us. Yeah, well, I want to apply for that new position higher in the hierarchy in the company, but I'm old. I think they're looking for young people. They want energy, and you know, I'm old and I'm tired. I should just stay where I am. Right? People deny themselves opportunities because of that. So these were the three main commandments. And when he says don't stop anywhere in the whole valley, it also means that you have to keep your eyes on God, not on people, not on what's happening behind you, not on what's happening with the people in your life and circumstances. You need to keep your eyes on God because He gave you the order. God gave you the order to move, so God knows where you're going to stop. If you're going to stop, He will tell you. If you don't, He will say, keep it moving, don't look back. So He knows where He's bringing you. That's why your eyes should be on God, not on people, because people will come to sabotage your situation. People will come in your life to tell you, yeah, you're not where you belong. This is not for you. This career is not for you. The answer to which should be, what do you know? What the fluff do you know about what I deserve and who I am? You know nothing about me. That's how wicked and sick people are. People think they know you better than you know yourself. And they think they know you better than God knows you too. So they will come in your life to tell you what you're supposed to do with your life. And then you will look back at these people, these very same people that think they are so smart to figure out your life, and you'll find out that they have figured out their life either. Because the principle here is, if you're going to come in my life to tell me how to live and what career I should pursue and how worthy I am and what value I carry, then that means you have figured out your life, right? That's the principle here. So if your life is a mess, why am I supposed to take advice from you? For what reason? And that makes us both stupid. Right? So, these were the three principles. But why does God call us to move? Because the first rule here is our conditions and our perception about life is not the same as God's perception about life. God does not see human life the way we see it. Because when it comes to moving on with our life from a situation or a relationship or a job or a career or a habit, we think, I'm comfortable there, I like it, why would I move? Right? Not everybody stays in the same situation or career or relationship or habit because they can't move. Some people like to stay there. They like it. They have lived so long there that they don't want to move at all. So when God comes along and tells them to move, they refuse and they reject. They resist, like Lot in this case. But God will call you to move for a reason. For a reason. It's never for nothing. It's never without reason. And the reasons for that are three main. There might be more, but those are the reasons that I have figured out in my life as to why God wants you to move. First of all, God tells you to move when He's protecting you from something, just like in the Lot's case. Because God sees the danger before you see it. Because God knows what He's doing even though you don't know. Because we are blinded to this earthly life here, but God is not. He knows exactly what He's doing. He knows exactly what He's doing. What appeared to Lot a destruction of his life, because he was leaving his city, all his life behind. He was leaving the people he loved. He was leaving his career, his animals, his wealth, his money, everything. Zero. He took nothing with him. Not one thing. Only his family. So what appeared in Lot's eyes as a complete shattering and destruction of his life, for God was a beginning. It was a beginning to a new life. But Lot did not see that because he did not know God's plans. So sometimes God will warn us to move. He will send people in our life situations, warnings. Sometimes He warns us through the Word to tell us to move before we are destroyed by that place where we are staying. Have you wondered who are these women who end up being murdered by their partners? Those are women who chose to go back over and over and over and over. And if you listen to their life stories, they will tell you the exactly same thing. I forgave him. I forgave him. And he took me back. And I took him back. And I forgave him again. And he beat me again. And I forgave him again. Until he killed her. So God wants you to move from a dangerous situation. Sometimes it's a habit. Sometimes it's a habit. And sometimes it's just a spiritual place. Sometimes it's a spiritual place you have to move from. It's a trauma. It's a toxic relationship. It's a betrayal. It's a broken heart. It could be anything. Anything. It could be a sickness, right? So He will push you to move away before that situation or that habit destroys you to the ground and takes your life, like in Lot's wife's case. The second reason why God moves you and why He calls you to leave something behind or everything behind is because you have learned a lesson and it's time for you to move on. A lot of people don't know and they cannot see when God is calling them to move because they cannot distinguish if they have grown and learned the lesson. And so it's time to go, right? So when you learn a lesson in a situation, in the case of a violated woman, for example, when a man violates you the first time, you need to learn the lesson, take the lesson with you and move on. That's where a lot of people fail. That's a lot of relationships fail. When you learn the lesson, you have grown. You are no more the same person. You will never be happy with a person who has not changed. If one of the people or the partners in this case, since I'm talking about women, if one of the partners grows from something, they learn a lesson. They learn the lesson, for example, that this marriage will never work because there is so much pain in it. Because it's costing me my whole life. Because I'm being abused. I don't recognize myself anymore. That is the lesson. So I'm going to take this lesson and I'm going to leave this situation because I deserve better. Yeah. That is one of the ways that God tells us to move, through pain. The pain becomes so unbearable that you have no other option but to move. That is the purpose. But when you move, make sure you take the lesson with you, because if you don't learn the lesson from that situation, you will end up in another relationship or a situation or a career in that exact same position, in that exact same mess. You'll meet another man with the exact same features, just as toxic, just as dramatic, just as childish as the previous partner, because you haven't learned the lesson, right? The third reason that God calls us to move from the past is because we have outgrown our past version. What I mean by that is we heal. There are a lot of situations out there, career situations, partnerships, but also personal situations, whether it's family, relationships between parents and child. You would be surprised in how many situations a child starts healing the moment they separate from the parent, when they grow up, of course. The moment they go on their own way, they start healing, because there is no more poison that is poured into them. Same goes between partners. You would be surprised how many women start to glow when they leave a situation, when they leave a relationship. Have you noticed how many cases when you see women glowing after they go through a divorce, and you think, what is she doing? Why is she glowing? She looks happy. Because she's healing, that's why. Because she left something toxic behind and she's healing. That's why she's glowing. It's not aesthetics. It's not the cream that she puts on her face that gives her the glow. The glow is internal. It comes from the healing. The more she heals, the more she connects to herself, to her core identity, the more freedom she experiences, the more healing. She goes from healing to healing to healing, because healing is in stages. It's not a one-time act. You don't get up one day and you're healed and you glow. Healing is a process. So the more she heals, the more the healing continues. And that is why God tells you to move. You have outgrown your past version. In order to heal from something, you need to leave your past behind. You need to leave. You need to drop everything that hurt you, everything that poisoned your soul. You have to drop it like a bad habit. A lot of people are so stuck in past situations. But why did it happen? But why did they hurt me? It does not matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Focus on your healing. Move on. All you need to know is that that relationship was about to destroy you. All you need to know is that that person was about to break your heart. All you need to know is that that person betrayed you. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. So, are there any conditions to be able to move on successfully? Because as I said, a lot of people fail in the midst of the way. God tells them move and don't look back. Don't look back, and they look back. They fail, such as in the case of Lot's wife. She failed. She failed the task. She failed the challenge, and she died. So what are the conditions in order to make it through this obedience, through these commandments, right? The first condition is the obedience. The problem with us humans is that we have troubles to obey and to follow God's commandments because we don't understand His plans. We don't understand. We want to figure it out here. We want to know everything. We want to know what's the next step. We want to know what's going to happen. We want to know where we are going. And if we don't know, well, I'd rather stay where I am. Thank you very much. I'm not going to take the risk. Yes, but you're not taking a risk with you. You're not taking a risk with a neighbor. You're taking a risk with God. with the Almighty. He is God. He knows everything. He knows everything about you before you were born, so he knows exactly where you're going. Not only that, he has a plan for your life. That's why he's telling you to move, because it is part of the plan. It is part of the plan to prosper you, not to let you suffer in the long run. Even though it might look like suffering to you, because you leave everything behind, just like Lot. And you might be complaining and crying about it, and oh my God, what did I do? That's the reason that people go back. That's the reason that people change their mind. Because sometimes God will leave you in a season. Because there's healing there, there's a lesson to be learned, there is something there for you. But no, instead of sitting in that season and reflecting, people go, oh my God, I lost everything, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to that job because, well, I'm not gaining anything here, am I? People are not patient. People are not patient at all. But obedience is not easy when we don't understand God's plan. And in order to do that, we need to have faith, which is the second very important ingredient. Without faith, you won't get anywhere with God. You might get somewhere with people, with your lovers, with your family, whatever. You won't get anywhere with God without faith. Faith is crucial for your relationship with God. Faith is crucial for you to reach the destination that God has in store for you. A lot of people don't reach the destinations that God has for them, that great life that they dream of, not because God doesn't give it to them, not because they don't have the potential to have that position or that career or that accumulation or that great partner or happiness for that matter, but because they don't have faith in the journey. They drop things, they go back, they disobey, they don't listen, they rebel against God, they stay stuck, they stay in the comfort, they don't learn the lessons. So you see how many problems we humans have that we need to fix in order to reach the destination. Because the question is here, but why? I'm going to make a separate video about faith, because faith is a big topic, and I think we should go deep into it. I'm going to make a separate video on that, but here I'm just mentioning some things that are relevant to the story of Lot. Why you should have faith? Because you know God is on your side, 1. 2, because God is there to prosper you, not to hurt you. And 3, because God knows exactly where you're going. Even if you get stuck in the midst of the plans, He will still get you out of that situation. He will still get you out of the situation. If you have faith. If you have faith. Let me illustrate it with an example so you understand. Let me play the devil's side for a little bit. Let me play the devil's advocate here. Now, you might ask righteously, well, if God wanted to save Lot as much as he wanted to, why didn't these angels told Lot that, and Lot's wife, that if they looked back, they would die? Yeah. Why didn't these angels told Lot, if you look back, you will die? They only told them, don't look back. They didn't tell them what's going to happen if they looked back. It looks tricky, right? It's not. Let me answer to your question with another question. Why didn't the rest of the family look back? Why Lot's wife was the only one who looked back? Nobody else looked back. Neither of them looked back. Abraham didn't look back. Lot didn't look back. His daughter did not look back. His fiancés did not look back. So why? Why did Lot's wife look back? Because she did not have faith. That's why. So you see how faith plays into this whole scenario and how important it is to have faith. Then what God tells you, move, know that wherever He's bringing you, you're going to be landing safe. I've had situations in my life where He told me, move. And I was like, where am I going? What are you trying to tell me, God? Where am I going? He was like, you don't have to know. That's it. All you have to do is trust me. All you have to do is have faith in my plans. All you have to do is that I love you. All you have to do is that I believe in you. All you have to do is know that I'm here to prosper you, not to let you suffer. That's it. That's all you have to know. So why would you even have a moment of doubt in God's plans? You shouldn't. When you know that God is here to prosper you and to help you prosper and to help you grow and to heal you, you have no reason to doubt anything He says to you. Not one thing. Right? So you have to have faith in God's plan for your life, even when you don't know where He's bringing you. He knows, and that's enough. That's all you need to know. So, what is the third element that's important in this journey to move on and get to safety? Surrender. Faith without surrender is just resistance. Because you might have faith in God's plans. Yes, God, I trust you. Yes, God, I believe. But you need to obey to Him. And in order to obey, you need to surrender to His plans. You need to say, okay, God, take over the wheel. Because you're telling me to walk by faith, right? That's where the expression comes from. We walk in life by faith, not by sight. Not by what your eyes tell you, because your eyes deceive you. And because the human nature and the human mind and psyche does not know everything. We are very limited in our knowledge about life and about what's happening here, but also there. In the spirit. We know nothing about what's happening in spirit. So, because we don't know, we need to surrender completely and we need to obey God's plans for our life. It's not enough to have faith. A lot of people go around bragging about the fact that they believe in God. Yes, you believe in God, but you don't obey when He shows up, do you? When He tells you to move, you still stay stuck. When He tells you to look forward, your head is still behind. But what's happening there? What's happening there? What do you care what's happening there? He's asking you to look forward, not backwards. So when you keep looking backwards constantly, you are disobeying Him. And in order to obey Him, you need to surrender, right? You need to surrender. So, are there cases where God invites us to look back? Are there cases where God says, you know, you are allowed to look for a little bit, for a second to look back? Yes. There are moments when we need to reflect on something, when we need to remember something, when we need to say goodbye to something, when we need closure with something, when we need to we have a nostalgia for a memory from our childhood, where we need to research something. Yes, you can look back for the purpose that you are looking back for, and only for that purpose, but not to go back. Looking back is not an invitation to go back. Let me say that again, because that's important. A lot of people make this mistake. Looking back is not an invitation to go back. It's not. It might be an invitation to reflect upon something, to say goodbye to someone, but not to go back to that situation. Why? Because you have outgrown that place, you have learned your lesson, you trust God, you have faith that what's coming for you is way better than what you left behind. So, another thing here is compromise. When it comes to obedience to God and having faith in Him and surrendering your life and your plans to Him, God is not open to compromises. You can't compromise with God. You can't, because you are always on the losing side. God does not work like that. God knows what He's doing, He knows where He's bringing you, and He knows why. So what is there to compromise? What are you trying to compromise? In the Lot story, he tried to compromise with God. Abraham tried to compromise with God to not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, but God knew everything. God knows what happens before things happen. God knew that city was done. It was over. It was over. But He was just telling Abraham, okay, you want me to give you proof that these cities have to go? Okay, let's do it your way. He was basically pleasing Abraham to tell Abraham in a nice way, don't be stubborn about this. I haven't decided to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because I'm having pleasure in destroying things and in having people die. That's not how it works. That's not God's tactics. God is not about destruction, but God is about justice. When justice is involved, make no mistake, He will destroy. God is a just God. Justice is crucial to Him. So, Abraham was trying to compromise based on a human level, but God does not compromise. God knows exactly what He's doing. So, the same thing, why am I mentioning compromise here? Because compromise is how we sabotage our lives. Yeah? Yeah, what if I just go back just to check if she's okay? Yeah? But I'm going to look back just to check if my ex is doing better. Just to compare her with my new partner. Yeah? Maybe I made a mistake. Oh, she looks nice. She has a new job and she has made money. So maybe I should go back. Let's go back. Yeah, let's go back. When you go back based on such compromises, you compromise a season of your life, which was basically a lesson for you. You compromise your whole future for that. Because you get stuck in the past. You get stuck in the past. And you can move on from there. The next point I wanted to mention here, which is very important, and I hope I'm not going to make this video too long. Oh my God, I have to hurry. Okay. What are the reasons, you might ask, that we keep refusing to move on? Why do we refuse to move on when God tells us to move? Why do we play stubborn beings? And even when we move on, we go back. Some people move on and then a few years later they go back. Because, yeah, well, maybe I left something valuable back. Let me implement a part of my story again here. My personal life. Many years ago, well, not many years ago, several years ago, let's just say less than 10 years ago, almost 10, I started a project on my own. I started a project for lawyers, which was an entrepreneurship project. And I really liked it because it was my profession and I loved to see lawyers empowered and growing professionally, making important decisions because the rest of the population hangs on their decision. It depends on their decision, right? Which is why it's so important that our lawyers are of good quality, right? And that was one of my missions. And I thought God had called me to do that because He removed me from the corporate world, which was basically killing me from the stress and the anxiety and everything. And He threw me in a totally new career. And I thought, that's it. This is it. This is my calling and I love it. And okay. However, things did not go as I planned them. That's what happens in real life. Things don't go the way you plan them. I struggled a lot. I had no financial support. I used all of my money, basically, all of my savings to get that off the ground, that organization that I was so passionate about. And I got stuck and things just did not work out. And I had to let it go. I had to drop it. Even though I was passionate about it, even though I loved it, I had to drop it. I moved on from that project physically. However, what happened is I kept thinking about it. I was stuck here. I was stuck in the past. I was not only stuck here, but I entered a very dark season of my life, which brought me to light depression because I felt like a failure, right? It did not work out. That's what we do when things don't work out. We point our finger and we say, well, I failed. I'm not worthy of anything anymore. I don't know anything else. I don't know what to do with my life now. So it got me in this depressive state. And I was attached to it emotionally and physically, but I have moved on mentally, but I've moved on physically. One day, my husband comes home and he says, my colleague has invited us for dinner with his wife. His children are out of town. He had grown children, so they were out, and it's just two couples, just us. But because I did not know his colleague and his wife personally, but because my husband had told me these people are very spiritual, and I was at that stage myself, I thought that would be nice to talk, just get it out, right? Talk about how I feel, because that's what people do when they get into this awakening stage that we call spiritual awakening, right? And you start releasing and healing and sharing and stuff. So I thought it would be a nice chance for me to share what am I going through. So we went for dinner. We went there, and it was only my husband's colleague. His wife was not home, I guess. So we were sitting there, and he asked me how was it going with everything. And I told him, well, I'm having troubles of letting go of this project and, everything. And it's affecting my health and everything. And he said, you are trying to ride a dead horse, my dear. Let it go. It's over. You have to let that go. And I said, well, I know I have to let it go, but I'm having troubles with letting it go for one very particular reason. Why would God call me to do something and then take it away from me? Because if God wanted it to work out, He would have provided for me everything that I needed to make that project work. So the fact that God did not show up, as I was thinking back then, He did not show up for me. He failed me. And why? I cannot understand. Why would God call you to do something and then drop it? And the moment I said this, I heard a voice behind me that said, because it was not your destination, that's why. This was a stop. It was a station, but not your final destination. And this was not your calling. You are called to do something else. But this was something you had to go through to prepare for what's coming next. I turned around, and that was his wife. Those words have stayed with me since then. And I haven't met these people since then, to be honest. But where am I going with this? Here's the lesson I learned from what she said, and from the experience that I went through. Moving on physically, while you are still mentally and emotionally attached to your past, is just wishful thinking. You're not moving on. You haven't moved on. You would be surprised how many, because this is an example from my career, but you would be surprised how many people I've watched in my life that can't move on from the past, from past lovers and partners and situationships and partnerships or whatever. They think they have left a situation behind, and then they go into a next relationship. They get into a new relationship. All the time they are still in the old relationship. They take the things from the old relationship, trying to implement in the new relationships, habits, behaviors, skills, appearances, whatever. But they haven't moved on. So if you have moved on physically from something, but you are still here and here in the past, you need to heal. You can't move on unless you move on completely. When you move on from something, you have to move on physically, mentally, and spiritually. There should be no emotions for a past situation when you go into a new situation. Because if there are, then you will go back. You will go back. And that's when you ruin two relationships. You're going to ruin this new thing, and you're going to ruin the past thing too, because when you go back, you'll find out that that is not the same as what you left it a few years ago. People change. Life changes. So even though you go back, you won't find the same place and situation as it used to be, right? You'll find something new there. So Uh, do not make your temporary stops your future and your permanent reality. That was the second lesson that I learned from my situation. The reason that I refused to move on mentally was because I was trying to make that temporary stop, which was just a station, like that lady said to me. I was trying to make it permanent, but that was not its purpose. You cannot make a temporary situation a permanent one. That it doesn't work, because that's not the purpose of that stop. That stop and that station and that situation and that career stop was there to accomplish something in my life, to prepare me for something new, to boost me into the next level, but not to become my whole life. That was not where I was going. I did that stop for a reason. That experience taught me a lot of things. A lot. Things that I would never learn in university. Things that nobody tells you in a coaching session or in a training. Because you have to go through the experience of working with people in order to learn some lessons. Right? So it taught me a lot, but that was not my permanent stop. I had to continue on my journey. Even though God had stopped me there for a few years, I learned what I had to learn, and I had to take it with me as something valuable, let that situation go in love and with gratitude, and move on to the next one, right? Another thing here is important that I learned is that when you're past, or in a past situation, being that a career, relationship, people, whatever, jobs, family, whatever, when a past stop or a situation almost destroys you, then moving on from that is no more a choice, it's an obligation. It's an obligation towards yourself. You have to make that choice to survive. You have to make that choice to heal, to grow, to become a better person, because otherwise you'll be stuck. You'll be stuck in the same habits, you'll be stuck in the same toxic relationship, you'll be stuck in the same family traumas and bondages and whatever is passed on to you, your behavior, your belief systems, everything that has been passed down to you, you'll be stuck there. The other lesson here is that attachment to the past for too long, it can hinder your progress and jeopardize your entire future. A lot of people cannot progress in life because they get too attached to their past. That is one of the reasons. The other reason is some people want to have best of both worlds, and they end up stuck. That past becomes their prison. A perfect description of this through an example is people who cheat on their wives, and their lives actually. Men who cheat on their wives, they want the best of both worlds. They don't let go of their wife because it's comfortable, it's familiar, it's nurturing, she takes care of the children, she doesn't stress him out, she cooks for him, she cleans for him, she shares her money with him. So it's comfortable. Why would I let this go? But at the same time, they like a mistress too, because she is the fun one. She's the excitement. She boosts his ego. She's flashy, and oh, fun all the time. So, trying to have best of both worlds will get you nowhere. Will get you nowhere. If nothing, it will jeopardize and sabotage your future. Actually, I do believe personally, don't take it for granted and don't take it as a fact, but I believe personally that people who live with one foot here and one foot there, one foot in this door and one foot in that door, one foot in the future, with a new relationship and one foot in the past with the old lover. Those people do that deliberately because they self-sabotage their lives. I call these people self-sabotagers. A lot of people self-sabotage. Some of them are not aware they are doing it. Many of them are aware that they are doing it. For many reasons, I won't go into that now because this is not a relationship topic. But my point here is that attachment to two worlds will get you nowhere. It will keep you in limbo because you cannot live in two worlds, can you? You cannot split in two. You cannot split in half. You are one person. You have to dedicate 100% either to the new person or go back to the old person and stay over there. Yeah? Which never works out, does it? So, comfort and convenience influences our decisions. Now, Lot here, he refused to move on because he was comfortable. It was convenient to stay. Why would he go into danger, into the unknown, right? Into the unknown. That's where God was telling him to go. God did not give him an address. He did not tell him you're going to go at this address and you're going to start camping there. And I'm going to give you a house and I'm going to give you a job and money and whatever. You have 2 daughters. Yeah, you know, I'm going to provide for them. None of that. So why would he do that? Comfort and convenience are sometimes they look like valid reasons for us to stay back and to look back and to go back. But they are, again, they are not an invitation to settle down for forever, permanently in your life. Because when you have outgrown a place and God tells you to move, there is nothing in that place left for you anymore. You can go back all you want. Oh yeah, you can go back every 2 years, every 2 months. Go back and forth and jump again. You can do that. That's a nice game you can play with your life. But life is not a game. Life is a serious business. And you have one. You have to do it right the first time. Because there's only one chance for you to live life the way you want it to be. Or properly. So you have one chance at it. So just because you have comfort in your life, just like Lot, he had everything, he had no reason to move, right? So he wanted to stay. But just because he wanted to stay, it did not mean that it was the right choice for him. It did not mean that he was going to prosper there because he was dead inside. He was emotionally not fulfilled. There was nothing good going on in his spirit, in his soul. Have you wondered how many millionaires are out there who are empty inside? And then when they become, they burn their lives entirely to make money and accumulation, and then they go in pension and they tell you and me, yeah, money won't satisfy you. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Excuses for the language, I apologize. But you know what I mean, right? Really? It took you that long to figure it out that money does not fulfill you? Really? That's why they say it, because they thought accumulation fulfills you. Accumulation gives you pleasure. That means it fulfills you. It doesn't. It doesn't. And you don't have to listen to a millionaire who has wasted their life to make the money to understand that money does not, and vanity does not, will never fulfill your soul. That's not what life is all about. So that's why God had to tell Lot to move. To live a meaningful life inside, not just have status and accumulation. The other point that I wanted to mention is that the lack of closure. The lack of closure is a trap, or actually waiting for closure with something or someone. Why am I saying this? Because there are a lot of people out there who keep looking back and they are stuck in the past because they don't have closure. Because they don't have that apology that they needed to move on. Really? I don't know who invents these rules. I mean, who makes up these things? Why do you need a closure from someone who betrayed you? The betrayal was the closure. The backstabbing was the closure. if someone throws you away like trash, like you never meant nothing for them, and they don't even think that you are worthy of one last conversation, a decent, serious conversation as to why and what happened, if they don't think you are even worthy of their time to explain, to apologize, or to just tell you the truth, then that right there is your closure. That's the closure. The lack of respect, the lack of appreciation, the disregard and devaluation phase, the offending, the lies, the manipulation. That's your closure. What else are you looking for? What kind of closure do you need? The closure is right in front of your eyes. You just don't see it. So move on. Next. So lack of closure is a trap, because you keep thinking for the past, you keep looking back, but what happened, but what if, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. You're living in a fantasy. So if you don't let that go, you'll be trapped into that situation. You'll be trapped mentally and emotionally. So you need to let go all of it. All of it. That's also related to the nostalgia, right? What could have been? What if it had worked out? But what if I had done that? But what if I had used another tactic? But what if I had applied for a different job? What if, it doesn't matter. Life is not about what if. Life is about what it is right now, the reality of it. The reality of your life is what you are living, not what coulda, woulda, shoulda been. You need to split these two, because that's where the fantasy of what could have been keeps you stuck looking in the past. The fantasy of maybe it was going to be better if I did this and not that. Maybe if I chose this and not that. That fantasy will keep you stuck. And if you stay stuck, you can't move on, can you? Here's another big one. Fear of the unknown is an excuse. Lot's wife looked back. She didn't look back because she missed her city, because the nature was beautiful. That's not the reason why we look back, is it? We look back because of the attachments to a lifestyle. We look back because of the attachment to a habit that we can't let go. We look back because of the regrets or the nostalgia or this fantasy that we have between our ears. What could have been, what should have been. Those are the things that make us look back. We look back because something glittery comes back from the past to see if we are still stupid enough, and we fall for it. That's why we look back. We look back because the devil is always working into whispering in our head that we made a mistake, so we have to go fix it. That's why we keep looking back, which is a trap. It's a trap. But fear, in Lot's wife case, it could have been fear of moving forward. A lot of people will use that, but it is an excuse. Why? Because it's easier for people to accept or to justify that I'm afraid to move on. That's why I'm not moving on. It's just fear that's holding me back. It's easier for them to tell this lie to themselves and everybody else instead of admitting that moving on acquires all of these elements that I mentioned. Courage, faith in God, faith in God's plans. It requires commitment. It requires determination and decision. That when you tell yourself, I'm moving forward and there is no looking back, you don't look back. No matter what. Will the past come covered in glitters to fool you? Yes, it will. Will the past come to tell you that that person who betrayed you and killed your soul and destroyed your heart and broke it in pieces, that he is changed now? Yes, they will, but that does not mean you should go back. It means you should reflect. You should reflect about why you decided to move on in the first place and not fall for the tricks of the enemy. Yeah? So why is this an excuse? Because whether the fear is justified or not, you pay a high price for letting fear distract you. It doesn't matter if your fear is justified. Sometimes the fear is an illusion. It's all in your head. There's no fear. You just fear because it's in between your ears. But there's no fear there. Sometimes the fear is justified. Sometimes it's justified. In Lot's wife, it was justified. If fear was what stopped her to move on and she looked back and it cost her her life, we don't know. The Bible does not tell us why she looked back. So these are all assumptions, and these are all reasons that I have from my own life that people look back, right? Because of these things. And I've had in my life a lot of these cases. But whether the fear is real or an illusion, whether the fear is justified or not, you still have to move on. You still should not look back. Because the secret is not in what the fear represents. The secret is, what do you do with your fear? We are not here to comply with the fear. We are not here, we all have fear in our lives, in all areas of our lives. But we are not here to tell the fear, okay, you came in my life, okay, I'm going to do whatever you want. That's not what life is all about. Life is about feeling the fear and saying to yourself, well, fear can go and F itself because I'm still moving on with my life. Fear cannot stop me to move on. Because God's will for my life is more important than the fear. And fear does not come from God, by the way. Fear comes from the devil. That's one of his tactics, to keep you stuck and not move forward. So, fear keeps us back even when it's real, not just when it's fake. So whether it's fake or not, fear will keep you stuck. It will paralyze you. What fear does in this case is, from my experiences, fear will do one of these two things. It will either paralyze you, keep you stuck in one situation, you can't move, you can't go you can't even go back sometimes, you're just paralyzed. You're stuck. You take no decisions, you do nothing, you just repeat. You wake up, you do the same habits, you go to sleep, and then you repeat the same toxic habits. It's being stuck in a habit, paralyzed. Or the second option, fear will push you to move too soon. Because as I said, God calls you sometimes to stay in a season because you need to heal there, you need to have closure with something, you need to understand or remember something, you need to heal from something. There's a lot of reasons. Sometimes he will tell you to stay in a season, but then the fear will tell you to move too fast. The fear will tell you, no, you don't belong here. This is not where you should be right now. You should be out there. You should be out there. Go. So the fear will push you to take immature, hasty decisions. Immature, hasty decisions without consulting with God first. Right? So that's the risk of fear here. How do we know it's time to leave a situation? There are some other reasons, but I don't know if I should do this. I have some other reasons here that are connected with the reasons why we keep looking back and we go back, which are indecisiveness about what we want. Some people don't know what they want. Some people can't make a decision. We call them indecisive people, right? We hear of them every day. Some of them are in our families. They can't decide. They can't make up their mind. They wake up one day, they want one thing, then they go to bed with a decision. They have decided, tomorrow I'm going to break that habit. I'm going to stop smoking. And then the next day they buy a pack of cigarettes again. So they linger in this indecision, between back and forth, between moving on towards the future or staying stuck or going in the past, right? They can make up their mind. Another reason is that people think that by staying in a comfort zone, they are avoiding suffering. This is a big one because a lot of people, our parents used to live that way. My parents used to live that way. If I don't take the chance, I'm safe. Nothing will endanger my career. Nothing will bring danger to my family. I won't be exposed to dangers, to the dangers of the world. So I'm going to keep it safe. I'm going to play it small. I'm going to stay in my comfort zone because, well, if I try to show my potential, well, I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be attacked. I'm going to be ridiculed. I'm going to be bullied. I'm going to be laughed at. I'm going to be devalued and disrespected and ridiculed. right? So I'm going to stay in my comfort zone to avoid the problems. The illusion here is that people think that by staying in their comfort zone, they are avoiding problems and suffering. The problem is that we live in a life filled with suffering. We live in a life midst of problems and filled with problems. So whether you're thinking you're safe or not, problems will find you. Yeah. Nobody escapes suffering in this lifetime. Don't fool yourself by thinking that if you don't take a risk into something to grow and to go where God is calling you to go, you'll be safe and nothing will happen to you. Because the devil does not need you. You don't have to go to meet him. He can come in your home, right in your home. Right in your home. He can come and sit there and there's nothing you can do about it. He'll come in your home through a sickness. He'll come in your home through divorce. He'll come in your home through third person coming in between your relationship. He will come in your home through loss of a career or job, loss of finances, poverty, financial ruin. He will pay you a visit. He pays us all a visit. Nobody is safe from him. But that should not stop you to move on. Because it's a trick. It's a trick. And when you understand that, you will feel the fear, you will feel the insecurity, and you will still push forward. You will still keep moving. Another reason why people refuse to move on, or they look back to that comfort place, to that place that they know, because it's predictable, it's familiar, they know how it goes, no surprises there, I'm just going to stay here. It's low expectations and refusal to grow. A lot of people suffer from low self-esteem. Yeah, it's in human nature. We feel insecure a lot of times. We feel not enough. We don't feel good enough to look towards something bigger, better, brighter in our future, right? And we refuse to grow when we are stuck because our expectations are based and built up upon our self-esteem. If you have low self-esteem, you have low expectations from your life. You cannot be ambitious and with high expectations if you are low self-esteem. And I'm not speaking about arrogance here because people confuse it a lot. People going out there boasting, I am confident. They are being arrogant, and cocky. But don't mistake it. When I say high confidence, I mean a person of value. I mean a person with a clear identity, what you stand for and why you stand for the things that you stand. I mean a person dedicated to meaning in your life and not to shallowness and bling bling and superficiality. So when I say high value and high self-esteem, I mean a high value and a high level of living, a qualitative life. When you live a life like that, you experience only high-level experiences. You attract high-level people. You attract high-level opportunities. You don't have to chase low vibrational things, right? But when you refuse to grow to that level, because in order to get from the low self-esteem to the high self-esteem, you have to grow. You have to let go of bad habits. You have to stop being toxic. You have to take responsibility and stop being a baby and complain to everybody and, oh, poor me, playing the victim everywhere. You have to take accountability about your life to understand that it is your responsibility to be a good person. It's not other people's responsibility to fix you. Even though you went through trauma and pain, it's your responsibility. And it's my responsibility to fix my life. So when you see yourself in that mirror that tells you who you are, see your true face and you say, this I no more tolerate, that has to go, that had to go, that relationship is over, this toxic habit has to go. Why? Because I decide so. Because this is my life and I decide to live it the way I am supposed to live it, and I deserve to live it that way. Yeah. So then you grow. Then you grow. So a lot of people don't do that, because here's what happens with a lot of people. A lot of people, they like the benefits of life. Yes, they like the benefits, but they don't want to put in the work. which is a complete nonsense because this doesn't work. This formula does not work. People think they can go out there and they can steal from somebody an idea, a project, a quality, a character trait. They can even mirror somebody. They can even be their copycat. The problem is you're not the same because you're not on the same level. You do not exhibit the same qualities of that person. You can imitate that person externally all the day, all you want, all day long, but you will never become that person. The secret here is to become that person. It's not to go and take it from someone. You cannot steal the essence from another person. That's not how it works. You cannot steal the essence of the high quality person. That person had to go from step to step to step to grow to that level. So you can't just go from here and go and become a high quality person. That's not how it works. I mean, you can be fooling yourself all day long about that. That's your problem. You can live in your little Delulu land about it and convince yourself that now you're a high quality person because you're copying and imitating someone. But that's not how it works. It's not how it works. You have to grow. And so when you think that you can have the rewards and the work and whatever you think you can have from someone and automatically become a high quality person and grow in life, that's an illusion. It doesn't work. A lot of people try though, but it doesn't work. The last reason here, and I'm going to go into a new point, why people go back. Regret about something in the past. You would be surprised how people live, how much regret they have about something they left in the past. And I know what you might think. Yes, of course they have regret because they hurt somebody. Most people who have regret, they don't have regrets because they lived a righteous life. People who have regrets is because they have made mistakes and they never fixed them. People who never apologize for their mistakes. People who broke somebody's heart and never even had the decency to live as a righteous person to explain. They chose to be cowards and hide. Yeah, that's why they live in regret. But regret, you either fix or you leave it behind. There's only two options. You either go and fix it and you say, I go temporarily in the past. As I said, we can look back in the past for a second to fix this regret and say, you know what? Even though it's been 10 years, I'm going to go and apologize to that person. Why? Because they deserve it. Why? Because it was my mistake. Why? Because I have to man up and say, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's just an example. But regret, you either fix or you let it completely go. Take it with you to the grave. Nobody cares. Okay? Nobody cares. But don't go back to get stuck in that regret. Don't go towards the future with that regret here, because that regret will eat you alive. Let it go. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself too. Whatever you did, it's okay. Let it go. You have to move on. Looking forward is way more important than looking in the past. Okay? So you have to move on. The last point while people keep looking back is benefits and personal interests. A lot of people move forward with their life and then they keep thinking, that person I left, well, she looks really good. She must have something good going on. Let me go back and benefit out of it. Let me go back to her and profit, and then I'll leave her again and I'll go back again to the one that I had. I don't know if this is a childish behavior, immature, stupid, unwise. Could be all of them. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a professional. I cannot go deep into this. All I know is it doesn't work. Because when you go back to a situation thinking you're going to benefit something out of it because it looks good, yeah, that's a trick. It's a trick to get you locked in there. Sometimes your past will come with vengeance. Yeah, there are a lot of people who do that. Some people cannot move on from the anger and bitterness, so what they do is they create a circumstance to lure people back in their life, to get them stuck there, to take their vengeance. Because of whatever happened in the past, it doesn't matter. That means both parties have issues, of course. But when you go back for personal interest, you need to know that first it might be a trap that will keep you stuck in the past and you might never be able to move on ever again. Or whatever you think you're going to find there is not the same. People go back thinking that they will find the exact same love as they had. People go back thinking they will find the exact same family dynamic as they left. People go back thinking they will find the exact same company that they left. They won't. Because while you moved on, that person or situation or whatever also moved on. That dynamic changed because life, as I said, is about change. Nobody stays stagnant. Even when you think people are sitting there all day, they are doing something else in their life. They are moving in another area. Maybe you don't see it, but people keep moving. Nobody stays stuck in all areas. Yeah, in all areas at the same time. A few points about how do we know it's time to leave something, like in Lot's case, because this is the perfect scenario. Lot's life and his wife's life, that's a perfect scenario when God sends you angels to literally warn you verbally to leave. That's the easiest scenario. I would do it like this because it's easy. I'm told to move, so I move. That's it. All I need is faith in God and I move. But what about when we are not warned? What about when we don't know when to move? Sometimes we think we should move, but we shouldn't. Sometimes we think we should stay there, but we should move. So how? What are the signs that God sends us to move on? The first one, which comes from my own experience, is pain. The pain in your life from a situation or a relationship or a job or whatever opportunity will become so unbearable, or your health for that matter. In my case, it was anxiety. My anxiety did not become less with the years. It kept accumulating. It kept increasing because I was refusing to listen. I was refusing to listen, to move on. To move on from a situation, to move on from a job or from a career, whatever it was in my life. The anxiety, the pain was telling me something and I refused to listen. And it kept becoming more and bigger and more intensive until I was against the wall and I had no choice but to move. So the first way that God tells us to move is through pain. So the first question you should ask in your life if you're going through pain is, why am I having this pain that keeps persisting? That keeps persisting. Maybe I need to move on from something. Maybe there's something I need to drop and leave behind, a habit, whatever it is, a lifestyle, a place. The second way that also comes from my life is through warnings, through people. God will position people, even strangers. God will position strangers in your life to tell you what you need to hear. In my case was that lady that told me, move on because this is not your permanent stop. Stop making it your permanent stop. It's not. It was just a temporary thing. Move on. Leave it behind. Move on. It was nice to meet you. Great experience. I loved it. I learned a lot. I respect you and I release you in peace. Right? That's the formula. The third way is that we are warned to move on is that there is no spiritual growth, just like Lot's case. He grew monetary, he grew in a career, he grew on a social status. There was no growth inside because he was surrounded by sickness and wickedness and sin and immorality. You cannot grow spiritually in such place. There is no way to grow there because you'll become like the rest of the people there. That's how it works. So when you feel empty, unfulfilled, unsatisfied, there is a big emptiness inside of you. Maybe it's time to move on. Always check with God. Even when you have all of these signs, always use your discernment that God has given you, which is a gift from God. But check with God. Go into prayer. Go into the Word of God. Read because He speaks to you. Through His Word, which is my next point. God speaks to us through the Word. Through the Word. This entire story that I read to you contains all of these messages that I shared with you. Someone out there needs to hear what I'm saying. That's why these messages are being brought to me through God to speak about this specific topic. Yeah? Because somebody out there needs to hear something. There is a message for you. Which message is relevant to you? I don't know. You're supposed to know for yourself. You have to navigate with your consciousness, with your feelings, with your where you are in life, with all your being, through all of these messages to understand which one is relevant for you. Right? The main message is don't look back. Why you should not look back is one of all of these things that I mentioned. You need to figure it out for yourself. So God speaks to us through the Word. This is not just a story. It has a spiritual message behind. It has a powerful warning behind. It has a lesson behind. All of these things I got from the Word. I did not invent all of these lessons. Those are a combination from what I read to you, from the story of Lot, and I'm interpreting them to you, and from my own story, because they are interconnected. So through this Word of God, I learned my lessons about moving on. There was a message there for me first, and that message I transmit to you as well. You see how it works? So His Word is powerful. That is why the Bible is called the living book. It's a living book. It's alive, because every time you open a page, there's a message there. Have you noticed, for those of you who read the Bible, have you noticed sometimes your Bible falls on the ground and it opens exactly where you need to read? And you pick it up and you read something and you're like, wow, this is exactly for me. You feel the message because that message was for you. It was for you. So, you feel empty. The last one is, how do we know it's time to leave a situation or to move on? You are backsliding in life. No matter what you do, you feel stuck. No matter how hard you work, it's not going anywhere. No matter how much you invest in a relationship, you're not happy. That's the signs. You are backsliding. You're trying to build something with someone, it's not going anywhere. You're trying to invest your money in a project, it's not happening anything. That's how you know you have to drop it. Drop it. Take the lesson with you, because you need the lesson for the next season, and move on. Yeah? So, the lesson here is God will warn you. These are all warnings. These are all warnings. That's how God speaks to us. He doesn't show us, He doesn't show here on earth, on a throne and in a white robe. That would be nice, but that's not how God works. That's not what God is, first of all. So, He will warn you through all of these things, but you need to be able to learn to read the signs. You need to read the signs. I think I covered all the points here. I wanted to read a few things for you. I don't know, because I have a few notes in here, but I don't know if I should do it from here. I'm just going to read you a few statements and I'm going to close here. Last point. Your disobedience does not stop God's plans. He warned Lot, you have two options. You stay, you die. You move on, you flourish. Two options. Okay? But if Lot would have not obeyed, just like his wife, he would have died too. Your obedience towards God's commandments, when He calls you to do something and you like to challenge God, first of all, we cannot challenge God's authority. Don't ever make that mistake. You will regret it. God plays no games. No, we humans play games, but He does not play games. He is very clear with His instructions. He is very clear with His plans. He is very clear with everything that He tells you. Okay, whatever the message is. But the moment you disobey to Him, He will continue with His plans. Let me give you an example. Have you seen what these parents do at the store when you see these tantrums of the little kids that won't comply and they won't obey to the parent? The parent is trying to move and go out of the store, and the kids keep dragging the parent behind, and then they go crying and throwing tantrums in the middle of the store because they want to have what they want to have. What does the parent do? Does he always go and suit to the pleasure of the child? Or does he drag him and get him out of the store? Even though the child is crying, even though the child is throwing an anger tantrum, even though the child is not disobedient and is humiliating and disrespecting the parent, in public, the parent does not care, because the will and the authority of the parent is not to be questioned. And God operates the exact same way. God is a parent. It's like a father. That's why we call him the Heavenly Father. He is our Father, and he operates in the same way. Your tantrums, your disobedience, your stubbornness, your self-sabotage, your anger, your bitterness, it won't change his plans. He will continue, and he will finish what he is about to finish and destroy Sodom and Gomorrah here, whether you like it or not. But he will always warn you first, because God is a righteous God, and he's a good God, and he always has mercy. He's a merciful one. So he always will give you the chance to make a choice. He will warn you. But your choice will either bring you towards destruction or towards a new life. Let me read a few. Oh my God, my coffee is cold. It's okay. I'm used to drinking cold coffee when I make videos. I have a few sentences I want to share with you, and I'm gonna close this video here and let you reflect upon the lessons of today, or the messages. So I don't want you to feel pressured. We are not at university and you need to take notes. Although feel free to take notes, but I mean, reflect in your free time, and you can listen to this video more than once if you need to rerun the messages in your head and see how relevant they are to you. I'm just going to read quickly a few sentences here that I think were important to note. I have noted them for myself. God is not taking pleasure in destroying the wicked, but he must deal with the sin. And the punishment of the wicked is the result of that. So God's purpose in destroying Sodom and Gomorrah was not to kill the people. Because I hear a lot of these crazy versions of people who don't believe mostly that, well, God likes to kill people. God is telling people to go to war. And then God is creating the mess that we live in. God is not dealing with you, my friend. You are too small for God. You are like a little being in the big multi-universe that doesn't even matter in the big scale. You are a nothing to God in terms of how big you are. Yes, in terms of importance, you matter to him. But when it comes to destroy sin, he will do it, as I said. He will complete the cycle he has to. Whether you like it or not, whether you resist it or not, God will do what he has to do, with or without your permission. The following message to this message is what also people struggle with. Why do good people suffer together with the bad people, right? It's not righteous, right? It's not fair. That's how we humans think. But when wicked people go down, the righteous suffer too as a result. But those who truly walk with God always get one more chance to be saved, like Lot. Lot lived in the midst of misery, but he got the chance to live a better life. First of all, to stay alive, and then to have a better future. Why? Because he believed in God. He protected the angels. He was ready to sacrifice his daughters for God's messengers. He loved God. He loved God. And God spared his life. Not only his life, his family's life too. Except his wife's. Because she refused to do what she was supposed to do. She died because of her own mistake. Not because God wanted her to die. So, sometimes righteous people suffer too as the wicked go down. Why? Because we live in a wicked world. When destruction comes upon us, you can't separate good from bad people. They are together. They are in the same environment. Right? God protects them though. God gives them the chance though, just like Lot, to escape death. Another statement here. Faith builds on the past, but it never plans or longs to stay there. Faith requires both feet and not straddling or doubting in God's plans for your life. So, faith is an all-in deal. There is no 1 foot in, 1 foot out with faith. Today I'm going to trust God, and tomorrow I'm going to change my mind. Today I'm going to do what God says, and tomorrow I'm going to do what I want. You either believe or you don't believe. There is no half deal. Life makes no half deals. God has no half deals. And faith offers no in and out deals. You're either in or you're out. Yeah, that's personally one of my favorite deals. When I do something and I take a decision, I'm all in. There's no such thing as, but maybe, let me check what's happening back. But what did I leave behind? But maybe something happened. But maybe I did a mistake. No such thing. I move on. I close that door and I throw the key away. And that's it. It's a done deal. Because I understand how important it is to take clear decisions. Cut decisions, and not to be wobbling in life. People who wobble in life, they get nowhere, right? They just go with the flow, today, tomorrow, and everywhere and every time. Last one. When you compromise your entire future for a temporary place or situation, you end up losing both. So this answers the question that I posed in the beginning about the topic. The price you pay for constantly looking back is your future. You have already lost your past anyway because you left it behind. It had to stay there. But you lose your future because your past will keep. Yeah? Have you noticed how when you're doing well in life, people from the past start resurfacing? Have you noticed that? That's not a coincidence. No, that's not a coincidence. That is the past trying to drag you back to that habit, back to that relationship, back to that purpose, back to that family member. Oh, you know, but there is something here. You have to come and see it because, yeah, you know, we need you there because, no. I left that situation and it's over with. Yeah, that's the attitude I have for my life. So, no half deals, no in and out deals, no lukewarm behavior. When God tells you to move on, move on. Trust me, you'll not regret it. Why? Because God makes no mistakes. You might make mistakes by not listening to Him, but He makes no mistakes. I hope I have sparked some thoughts and reflections in you with this video, and next time I will speak about something also very important that, next to the topic of faith, is for me crucial for the quality of our life and the way that we live life, which is forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Why we should forgive? Why is forgiveness important for us, first and foremost, but also for the people that we think we should forgive? And I will bring that through a life story, a powerful, true story from Corrie ten Boom, that has taught us many lessons about forgiveness. So I look forward to that video, and meanwhile, enjoy your whole week, enjoy the day, and make sure you take wise decisions for your life. Consult with Him first, not people, not your mom, not your dad, Him. He is the author of your life. So He's the one you should go to when you wonder or you decide about something at all times. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.